we're diving straight into a massive disruption in how software gets built today. In this explainer, we're pulling hardcore, unfiltered insights directly from Andrew Ambrosino. He's the product and engineering lead over at OpenAI for Codex. So we are getting a literal front row seat to how product work is being completely transformed.
Are distinct tech roles totally dead? I mean, really think about it for a second. When artificial intelligence is the one actually building the software and writing the actual code, what exactly are you being paid to do?
Which naturally leads us right to this question. If the cost of implementation basically drops to zero, what becomes the most expensive, most highly valued part of building software? Well, to truly grasp the scale of this shift, we have to look at the raw data.
Since January alone, usage of the Codex app has grown a staggering 6 times over.
We are talking about a platform that now boasts over 5 million weekly active users. And honestly, given the sheer velocity we're seeing, that number is probably already out of date.
But the most telling data point actually comes from inside OpenAI itself. Right now, nearly 100% of OpenAI employees are using Codex on a weekly basis. It's literally become as natural as opening up a new browser tab.
And crucially, look at the breakdown of those users. 90% of the entire OpenAI company uses Codex. And that is not 90% of engineers, we mean the entire company. We're talking finance, legal, marketing, communications. What was originally conceived as a hardcore developer tool has aggressively morphed into a general knowledge work tool. It's gotten to the point where employees are actively refusing to use other internal tools.
So this completely inverts the entire product development process. Just contrast the old way of doing things with this new AI reality. Historically, implementation was incredibly expensive, right? To survive, teams had to de-risk everything up front. You needed massive product requirements documents or PRDs and just endless cycles of research. But today, implementation is cheap. With practically unlimited tokens, absolutely anyone, even folks without a computer science degree, can stand up a brand new feature instantly.
But wait, what actually happens when anyone can build instantly? Well, you get absolute, uncoordinated chaos. Ambrosino describes this very real scenario where a company might desperately need a specific feature and suddenly, boom, you have 90 different completely uncoordinated teams or individuals implementing 90 different polished prototypes for that exact same feature, all simultaneously.
And this right here illustrates the solution to all that chaos. It's taste. If implementation is virtually free, taste becomes the absolute bottleneck. And let's be super clear about this. Taste isn't just about aesthetics. We're not just talking about Paul Graham wearing cargo shorts here. Taste is the curation process. It is deep systems thinking. It's figuring out what is actually good, how it fits into the broader system, understanding the semantic meaning, and knowing exactly what specific medium to use when you literally have infinite options sitting at your fingertips.
So you might be wondering, why hasn't AI mastered this yet? Why does it still struggle so much with design and taste? Well, there are 3 hard realities. First, human feedback loops for grading taste are incredibly tedious to build, especially compared to just checking if a block of code compiles. Second, AI labs historically prioritize coding because better coding directly accelerates AI research. Design just doesn't feed that exact flywheel in the same way. And third, deep semantic abstractions are currently just out of reach. An AI can easily update 263 visual components one by one, sure, but understanding the deep semantic relationship between 2 visually different items in a massive, complex codebase, that is a much, much harder hurdle.
Because taste is now the primary bottleneck, we are witnessing something called existential role collapse. The traditional, rigid boundaries that used to separate design, product, and engineering, they are actively vanishing. We're seeing this especially within the Codex organization itself, where you have designers regularly writing code and product managers managing technical infrastructure.
Think of it like this. Instead of being defined by some imaginary fence where design stops and engineering starts, your role is now simply the average of what you actually spend your time on. If you were to draw a scatter plot of all your daily tasks, your functional title is really just where the dots cluster on average for that given week.
And this is driving a massive shift toward hiring individuals simply as a member of technical staff. Companies are no longer looking for narrowly bucketed workers. They want high-agency, high-taste individuals, people who can take a raw idea from its absolute inception all the way to a finished, shipped product, without being boxed into strict legacy functional constraints.
So where does that leave product managers? In this high-velocity environment, the PM role transforms into what Ambrosino calls zone defense. When practically everyone in the company is highly agentic and throwing around these polished prototypes, PMs have to step up and provide company-wide coverage. They curate the chaos, steer strategic alignment, and jump in to fill the gaps wherever the execution is failing.
All of this fundamentally rewrites the rules of planning. The new reality is pretty hardcore. Short-term needs absolutely require high detail, but anything beyond that, like a precise 9-month roadmap, that is purely false precision. The real strategy now is to build ambitious features that don't even work yet and literally just wait for the AI models to catch up. As an example, if the version of the Codex app that released in February had been launched back in November, it would have flat out failed. The product's shape didn't actually change, the underlying intelligence of the model just finally caught up to the vision.
Because ultimately, coding is no longer about typing out syntax character by character. Coding is now about steering the AI. It is about managing agents, setting up automated loops, and repeatedly guiding the model in the right direction. You aren't really writing code anymore. You are supervising the intelligence that writes the code.
And this reality highlights just how far the boundaries are being pushed right now. Codex currently features an in-app browser, full computer use capabilities, and direct connectors to tools like Excel. There's this one incredible internal anecdote where an in-house videographer wanted to edit videos using Codex. When the AI couldn't do everything natively, it actually built its own custom extension for Premiere Pro so it can manipulate the video markers directly inside the Adobe application. That is the level of ambition we are dealing with here.
Okay, let's rapidly execute a core review of the hard data we've extracted today. Usage is up 6 times since January, hitting 5 million weekly active users. Inside OpenAI, there's nearly 100% weekly employee usage, with 90% of the entire company, not just the engineers, relying on it. And the direct result of this massive accessibility, up to 90 uncoordinated prototype attempts for a single feature as implementation costs hit absolute zero.
Which brings us directly to today's takeaway, the fundamental, bottom-line logic of this entire explainer. Here it is. Implementation is infinite, but taste is the ultimate bottleneck.
Now, I want you to weigh in on this hardcore debate. Based on what we just covered, is the collapse of distinct product, design, and engineering roles a genius evolution for software development, or do you think it's a massive trap that just discards decades of proven best practices? Jump into the comments right now and let me know your exact reasoning.
And while you're down there, just leave a comment below to instantly receive our complete AI product work tool checklist and mind map. It has everything you need to actually execute on these concepts. Stay focused, keep building, and I will see you in the next one.